What's happening, FlowChat Connector? Sean here, back at you with another high ticket tune up. In this video, we're going to talk about your agency and the top 2 reasons that agencies don't grow. Hey, FlowChat, FlowChat Connector, how you doing today? Hope you're well. I'm Sean, back at you here with another high-ticket tune-up. Of course, I'm the co-founder of FlowChat, one of the most disruptive and newest, awesomest softwares on the block. Definitely, if you're interested in that, click the link below, jump on a call with our team. If you know anything about what we do, that's awesome. But don't forget to smash that like button, share this out to the people that need that. And today, we're talking about a cool topic. We're talking about the top 2 reasons that agencies don't grow. This was spawned by a question that came in from Yasmin, and Yasmin asked this. She said, Sean, I continue to struggle with breaking a sales plateau in my agency. Can you help me? And yes, I can help you. So I'm going to start with just a quick story. When I was going to Funnel Hacking Live, and if you don't know what Funnel Hacking Live, it's Russell Brunson's a dear friend of mine, and we've been in his inner circle for the last 5 years. Love the guy to death, and his family are just amazing, and he's clearly one of the top 3 or top 2 marketers on the planet, in my opinion. And we would go to these conferences, and every time we would get to this one part of the conference, they would have these award ceremonies, and all these people would walk up on stage, and then we get these badass awards. You see one behind me over my shoulder here, over there we go. And so I would start talking to all these other businesses. We were kind of standing in the line to go up on stage because there's hundreds of people that are winning with ClickFunnels. And I remember talking to these guys, and they were from some place over on the other side of the pond, right? Like in the Middle East area. And they had this like crazy marketing agency, and they only launched it like 5 or 6 months ago or something like that. And we were talking a little bit. And as I was going through this conversation, I was like, oh my gosh, like you guys just hit in a couple of months, you did $1 million in revenue. That's so crazy. And as I got deeper into the conversation, it popped up reason number 1 that I'm going to dive in and share with you today. So that is kind of my story. And so let's go into some of the slides. Here's the top number 1 reason, right? And this was the reason, this was the thing that happened to this company that I happened to be talking with. They were focused on revenue and not profit. And what I mean by that is I was speaking with them at depth, and when I figured out that they had spent $1.1 million on advertising to achieve $1 million in revenue. So their net profit was only $100,000 for the year. Now, not taking away from them, in less than 5 months to do something like that is incredible. But the problem with that is it's almost unsustainable because you have almost more out than what's coming in. And so what do we do if we run into this one problem? If we're always focused on, oh, I got to hit the revenue level, I got to hit the next revenue level, I got to get to the next revenue level. And if we stay focused on revenue, like, oh, I want 1 million in revenue, that's fantastic. What's the profit going to be out of that $1 million? Because as I was looking at these guys at this conference, I would see them and they weren't like living the lifestyle that most people dream about when they build $1 million business. And that really kind of hurt my soul a little bit because I knew, like, I learned this kind of a long time ago. And so it's important that other people realize this. And so here's what to do about it, right? So if you're focused on revenue and not profit, you're just like, hey, you're struggling along and you're getting this place where you're like, oh, I did 1 million or I did 2 million, but then your profits are dwindling, right? And you're spending, let's say you're doing $1 million and you spend 1.5 million to do $1 million in sales. Well, that can work if you have a very small staff. But again, the focus is we need to change our efforts to look at profit and not revenue. Here's the 2 things to do about it. So if you're focused on revenue and not profit, I encourage you, and you're stuck at a plateau, just like Yasmin was or is, this is the 2 things that I would say. Number 1, focus on LTV. Well, Sean, what is LTV? LTV is lifetime value of a client, meaning when you start the conversation with a new prospect and you get them to invest with you, the day they invest until the day they leave your system, your operation. So like the length or the retention time that you hold with them. And then what's the dollar value associated to that? So for example, in a software company, we look at, what's the average amount that somebody is going to pay, and then what's the length of time that they would stay using a software tool, as an example. That's how you can calculate lifetime value. You can take an average of all of your clients and the times they've stayed, and then figure out what the lifetime value of a single client is for your business. And when you know that number, then we look at the second thing, right? The second thing is what we call CAC, which is cost of acquisition, right? So cost to acquire a client, cost to acquire a client, CAC. And so what is cost to acquire a client? Well, this would be I spend $100 and I can acquire a client with a lifetime value of $105. Well, guess what? That $5 now is my profit. And this is the way that I can really grow my agency. If I'm looking at, okay, it takes me $187 to acquire, and that would be just a aggregate sum of all the marketing, all the time you've spent, everything that goes up into when you capture that client. What was the investment that you personally made from your business and your resources and your time, your energy, and everything else to get that new client, right? And when you figure out the lifetime value and you look at what your cost to acquire a client are, I'm just hoping and praying that your lifetime value is a way above the cost to acquire a client. See, if it's not, your agency is going to be in a lot of trouble and it might sink. And so just make sure that you stay very, very pinpointed on lifetime value, LTV, and the cost to acquire a client, CAC. And when you know those numbers, those are the main two things to stay focused and to get you off the revenue and looking at profit, right? And that's the conversation. When you start having that with your team, they're going to be like, okay, that's cool. Now we know the metrics. And now let's say, how do we extend the lifetime value and how do we decrease the cost to acquire a client? And then the cool news is whenever you have the spread between the two, that's really where your profit's going to be. So that's number one. That's one of the biggest things why agencies don't grow. And let's move on to number two. Number two is very interesting, right? As you build an agency out, typically there's going to be a group of people that are working with you. And so reason two is having a culture of project management and not growth. A lot of people that come and work at agencies are just concerned about, hey, I need a job. I need to do this. I need to make money. I need to whatever. And they're working for you. And they just have this culture of project management. And so they focus on just making sure that, oh, I got a new client. Okay, fantastic. Like this is going to be the outcome for this client. My job is to make sure that this happens. Well, that's great and it's going to do well for customer service and but it's not going to do the best for customer retention and it's not going to do the best for lifetime value. Reason number one. So what do we do, right? So if you have a culture of project management and not growth, we need to stay hyper focused on a couple of things. Here's what to do about it. Number one, you need to review the comp structure you have in place for your account managers, and we need to pay based on performance, not pay just because someone has a job. That's out the window. That's old school. That doesn't even work anymore. That's where you get the pensions of working somewhere for 30 years that don't exist anymore, right? We need to look at new age, new ways to compensate our members to grow the two metrics in our business. And that becomes the focus. If we focus on growth and not just project management, you win. So reviewing the comp structure is definitely the first place to look at. So go look at how you're compensating your current account managers. And the most important thing is create some sort of growth metric for your account manager. Example, you sell, let's say, I don't know, video marketing services. So that means you do all the editing work and you do you publish out a package and you deliver it to a client. So you lock in a new client for that service. And then your project manager jumps in there and they start doing all the delivery. They start doing the editing. They're doing the reporting once a week with the client and they're looking at all these other things. And they just deliver on what the contract originally said or the agreement that you had in place with that client. Well, that's project management. Now, if we're looking at growth, we say that project manager needs to be trained in order to do those same things, but also say, well, hey, listen, like if you can increase the services we offer to this client, you're going to be rewarded financially. So you have the ability to grow in your own position. This gives those people a lot of excitement about the opportunity of owning their own position and being able to grow. For example, going back to the video marketing agency, so they're doing the editing and the project delivery and the management, and then they see this lack of good content. Well, maybe your agency could pick up a content production side of things where you say, well, hey, listen, you're just on this kind of basic plan where we do the editing and deliver packages, but it's not getting you the results, and it's because the quality of your content. What if we gave you the structure of how to create very dynamic content and put you into this other part of our program? Yeah, it's a little bit more of an investment, but the return on the back end is going to be magnificent for you. And if you can get your project managers to say things like that to if you're a video marketing agency, for example, they're going to be like, yeah, I would absolutely like that. And then when that upsell occurs, you've just increased your lifetime value with a client and the cost of acquiring a client stays the same. But now your project managers are focused on growth and not just delivering the service. And these are the two reasons that I see over and over where agencies don't grow. It's just simply the fact that they don't focus on the right numbers. And that's it. That's all it comes down to. Very, very simple, is just remember those two things, right? And yeah, Rafal's there. He says, "What's up, boss? How's it going, Rafal? Love you, man." And our faithful Facebook user says, "Hey." So with that said, guys, you've just been tuned up. I hope this one was valuable for your agency. Make sure to smash that like button, subscribe button, share this out to all those people that you think you care about that might need something like this. If they're running an agency and you know they're floundering, if you have a friend in that space, send this video to them, because most definitely they could use it. And with that said, I love you, and I can't wait to see you next time.